Okay, I guess we've got some flub with the. There we go.
This is Governor Bobber. I like Good Day Doctors. George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Hey, we are back, and we'll start with the technology. You gotta love it, issues here, issues there, but we are on. Welcome. It is Friday, May 28th. Can you believe it? We're almost halfway through 2021. Can you believe it? Has the year where has the time gone? And the mask mandate is gone from the great state of Maryland. Now it is great because we don't have to wear masks anywhere. And
Baltimore City still has it.
Baltimore City still has it. Breacher, yeah. Okay, let's introduce the doctors today. We are joined by Dr. Jason Trott from the best part of Anne Arundel County, South County. And welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Dwight.
Yeah, then we have joining us from Earth 2, Dr. Breacher. How you doing, Breacher?
Great, doing well.
Good. And then we have Dean of Washington Politics, Don Irvine. Welcome, Don. Chairman of Accent Academia.
Welcome, Dwight.
And it's been a busy week, everyone. Montgomery County got rid of the mask mandate. It was awesome. I got to go to Costco's and didn't have a mask this morning, but I almost got carded today at Costco's, by the way. The person asked me,
"Are you 60?
Are you 60? And my response was, "Do you see the gray hair?" I know. So I think it maybe because I had a mask on before, they didn't, or the fact that I was shaved today, so maybe that had something to do with it. But so mental note: don't shave and walk a little slower when you go into Costco, so they won't try to card you. So, but I hope Costco's keeps the senior hours going. Yeah, well, I like it.
If you go to the one in Gaithersburg, there's a guy there that he works the front door about 3 days a week, and he's tough. I mean, he's got this eagle eye, and he stops people who he figures aren't 60, and he tells them they got to come back. He asks them, and they usually say they aren't, and then he says, "Come back at 10 o'clock." He shows no mercy to those people. Yeah, but it'll be an interesting question because Costco's not the only store that did senior hours.
Walmart, Sam's got rid of their senior hours last week.
Did they? They only had them 1 day a week, which I didn't think was all that useful at that point.
Oh, really?
But Costco, yeah, I'd be a little concerned about the Costco senior hours only because and I know you go to the one in Wheaton. There's not a ton of people showing up compared to how it was before. So generating enough traffic at 9 o'clock to justify opening up the store early during the week. So
I think if they're making enough money from people like DoorDash, because the DoorDash people are in there also at that time, and they got the big DoorDash vests on, and they're going there and buying stuff. So I think senior hours, let's ask our audience, tell us on Facebook if you think Costco should keep their senior hours and let old timers like myself and Don Irvine come in at 8 o'clock when there's no crowds there.
I think it goes into Dwight. I think it goes into a bigger debate on whether we keep some of these things that we adopted specifically for COVID-19. Whether like restaurants, like fast food restaurants, are going to continue doing this mobile ordering and pickup kind of thing, or all the different things that you saw restaurants and stores kind of do. These sort of contactless options. If we're going to stick with that moving forward, or if we're just if those aren't really going to be used and people want to go back to the way that we used to. I mean, it also kind of goes into the whole work from home debate. I mean, how many businesses and offices do you think will just never return? you all live a little bit closer to DC. I mean, I'm sure the traffic is back to pre-pandemic levels. But
if you mean if I'm cursing out the drivers in front of me, yes, it is at that. It is back to that point. It's almost like a 3 curse word trip these days.
Hey, Dwight, have you returned to NASA itself, or are they still working out? Right?
Well, let's see. NASA, NIST, NIH, USDA, and the FDA says, we're at stage 2. So it's basically if people can do their work from home, we want you to stay at home. And the civil service tell me, we're probably not going to be back 100% till March of next year.
And I know a lot of places Labor Day, so we may see, at least since we're going into the summer, we may not see a lot happening right now, but we'll have a better idea come the fall in terms of where we really. But to Jason, your point it's a good point on like the restaurants, particularly the fast food restaurants, because I go to these places occasionally, and to be honest, it drives me crazy to walk into a McDonald's or a place like this and see the chairs up and the kiosks, not operating. I'm like, why? What's the deal? And it's really it's inconsistent. I mean, okay, Popeye's chicken. The Popeye's chicken in Olney, you can sit down. The Popeye's chicken in Gaithersburg, you can't. Right? Chick-fil-A, which I love, and I'll be going back there for the peach milkshake, which should be coming out soon again. But I haven't actually been to a Chick-fil-A for months in general. Part of it is because my wife she doesn't really like the chicken sandwich, but she will eat with me if they have the dine-in option. So they kind of lose my business in the meantime. They've closed their dining room. I'm a little frustrated. And then I don't know if the taco near me, they've shut down that front door. You can only walk up to the front door. Does that mean they're going to reimpose that, or they're going to reopen it? I don't know what's going on there, but I think it's bad in the long run if they don't reopen the dining room. There's some of us that we want to eat in.
By the way, I've got some advice for kids who'd love to have an iPhone. McDonald's is giving you an iPhone if you go to work for them for 6 months. So 6 months in a day, quit that job and you have a free iPhone. It's not so bad.
We have a free iPhone and you earned a paycheck for 6 months, Dwight. I mean, it works out pretty good.
It's $15 an hour thanks to the
you're getting the quote living wage.
Exactly.
That's just, basically, an extra McDonald's income for most people, I think for it would be just mad money. Like it's money we can bet on the games or buy some Dogecoins with or stuff. It'd be Dogecoin money at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Just think how many Dogecoins you could buy with a part-time job at McDonald's, and that's all the money's going to. By the way, I did jump into the Dogecoin market about a month ago, so I'm doing pretty well now.
Are you up or are you down?
I'm up actually right now.
That's good.
Yeah, but I figured it'll be up and down. It'll be fine. I just don't look at it every day, so I'm not. That's
the best thing you can do. The best thing you can do is buy it and just forget about it.
Yeah,
I bought GE at $4 and some change, right? And I went back to look at it today. It's like up to almost $14 a share now.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how much higher GE will go, and I mean, crypto it's going to vacillate a lot. I mean, we have
for the faint of heart.
Yeah, if you're into Bitcoin, I mean, the world seems to revolve around whatever comes out of Elon Musk's mouth on Twitter, and it's like if he likes it, it's going to go up. If he doesn't like it, it goes down. I'm still a little bit curious as when he talks it down, considering how much money Tesla has put into Bitcoin, as to whether or not he was trying to talk it back down so they could buy some more and then talk it back up again, sell it, and then report that as profit on the next income statement or something like that. It's Elon Musk has got incredible influence on Bitcoin, which also then trickles down to Ethereum, Dogecoin, and everything else that goes out there. It's the way the market seems to go, and then those meme stocks they're running hot this past week or so too. So
AMC's doing really well today too.
Lost a little bit of money before, you could be making money now.
Yeah. Our producer was telling me today how AMC's doing really well. And
the Chinese, that Wanda Entertainment or whatever, I mean, they sold out of their position of AMC, so they no longer have any interest in AMC. They got out good. Thanks to all those people that dived in. These guys were, even after the pandemic, were able to make their money back and then some. So the Chinese are very happy with that. We lost Breacher.
He breached out. He went back to Earth.
But Dwight, when you talk about McDonald's, and we've had this discussion before, and conservatives had this discussion before, liberals are always very deaf to this. It's just that the McDonald's, the Taco Bells, whatever, the fast food industry, and all this idea about a living wage and all this kind of stuff, is that these jobs were they're entry-level jobs. These are training jobs. They were targeted at a specific audience. They were not, all these complaints about you've got to have this fight for 15 and all this stuff that started a few years ago, and it's really wrong-headed, because it was never intended for people who were 35 years old to make a career of working for McDonald's. That is not the model. These were teenagers, working for a summer or a year or whatever.
It's to pay for your first car.
Yeah, they pay for their accessories, maybe save a little money for school or whatever, to start a college fund or whatever. But this was not meant to support a household. And, unless you want a $25 hamburger down the line or something like that eventually, you can't expect, the McDonald's of the world to just pay, $15, $20 an hour or more. It makes no economic sense for them.
I think, go ahead.
Go ahead, Breacher. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Everything good on Earth too, by the way?
What was that?
Everything good on Earth too. I saw you breached out of here, so I was wondering if it might be
I forgot. I'm trying to be a chef here and have something in the oven with beeping sound. Anyways, I had to go rush to that. But I agree in that sense. I think economically it doesn't make very much sense to raise things to $15 an hour. But I think, the one thing I do see, there's a lot of I think in certain areas where they're more affluent, a little bit better, there's more opportunities for jobs. I also see a lot of folks in certain areas where you do see 35-year-olds, 50-year-olds working there. I think part of it is that, as his name, but as we mentioned before, we have a new economy kind of coming in from COVID-19, but we also have the remnants of the 2008, 2009 economy that were a lot of folks did lose out, and so it was like there was a time where at least back home, for me, I saw too often folks that were in their 30s, 40s, 50s working in these fast food restaurants because they had lost in the market. So there wasn't so many high school kids coming in as it was for adults. And so I think we kind of got used to that idea, that we kind of thought that McDonald's jobs are actually kind of careers. And that's what worries me. I think that sometimes we see the economy will adapt with whatever kind of shock that come to it. But I think what worries me is that how much those shocks should not be put in place. I think with the idea that we see 40-year-olds working at McDonald's, it might seem okay, but 40-year-olds can support a family. So if you try to raise the wage to $15, you're right. It's not really meant for a 40-year-old to raise a family.
And $15 is not going to change. It's not going to let you move on up to the east side. To a deluxe apartment in the skies. $15 is not going to get you there. And I think the problem that's lost on a lot of people, and I blame the public school system for this. Entrepreneurship is not being in it. Can it be taught? Yes, I think. Also, the fact that kids are constantly taught. I remember when I was in high school, I was told we were the first generation that's going to do worse than our parents in America, and that I don't know if you guys heard that when you were in high school, Jason. That you'll be the first generation to do worse than your parents, and I look at it. Hey, I'm doing better than my parents, and my kids will do better than me, and then so on and so on. Like Jason, Breacher, you guys are doing better than your parents. Probably they were at your age, Breacher's fighting crime and rounding up illegal folks that keep jumping from one earth to another, escape justice. I'm busy doing that.
I try. I think I'm killing on that. I mean, and I'm sure that you can find a study for a lot of different things, but from what I've seen, the most compelling study that I saw was that if you look at like the earned income tax credit, if you look at basically like from 1979, whenever it passed, if you look at the Social Security numbers for folks who are what they're reporting, what their parents reported, if you compare the two, you start seeing that people are actually making less than their parents were. And I have a lot of troubles with that study because I think like with their they were looking at tax, what people are reporting their taxes. Part of me is just I think, I mean, there is I mean, their argument is that the American dream is slowly dying down because people are making less money than what their parents made. I don't know. It might seem that way. I think with the income to debt ratio people have now as compared to what they had. I don't know. I think there's a lot of evidence that shows the contrary, that we're actually seeing a lot more people making less than what their parents did. We're doing.
See,
I want to piggyback on that real quick. I think there's another study that I saw that kind of reiterates that point, is that more people in there between ages 18 and 25 live with their parents than there has ever been in the history of the United States. I mean, I think that just that indirectly kind of proves your point, is that, at 18, 19, 20, I mean, my parents were out living on their own. Whereas, a lot of people that I went to school with, I mean, they all still live at their parents' house. So, I mean, I think that kind of reiterates what we're talking about, I think, in kind of an indirect way.
Well, here's the thing. I think kids live with their parents till they're older is not a bad thing. I had a friend in high school who lived with his parents until he was 27 years old. And the only reason he had to move out because his dad accidentally opened up his bank statement and saw he had over $100,000 socked away in an account. And it's like, son, how'd you do this? You're only making this much. He goes, well, I'm using your car. You always seem to
not
gas
spending
it up.
anything.
I don't have a girlfriend. I'm eating your food. You buy everything I like. And he goes, son, let's have a little talk. We did have a little talk about independence and economics. He goes, I come, and my friend's like, well, I come and go as I please. It's not like you're telling me I can't go anywhere or anything like that. And that's one of the flaws of having the same name your dad has. So your dad may actually open up your bank statement. But I commend him. You know what he did? He took that money. He bought a house. He went from one house to another house. And I commend folks to do that. That's really great. And he prides himself on being totally debt free and what do you call it? I remember I was telling him, yeah, but you want to have a little bit of debt because you don't want to have, you're such an easy target for slip and fall lawyers,
Yeah.
when you don't have any debt. But
I mean, Dwight, the thing, I mean, I think in general, I think we do see a lot of people who've done better than their parents. There's a lot of people have, self-made millionaires and whatnot. All the tech stuff has allowed people to succeed beyond anybody's wildest dreams. But I mean, look, if I look at what I've made, in the last few years from an income basis and adjusted it for inflation, I'm not doing any better than what my parents were at my age, in that sense. But on the other hand, I did manage to save and invest more money because that was different. That's a whole different game compared to when my parents were around. People were really investing money very much back then. And if I look at my kids, I can take my kids and I can say, all right, so my daughter's married to a guy who's a surgeon, basically a podiatrist, but he does surgery. She's doing very well now. So her side, she's doing way better than I ever was. I mean, she's gonna be fine. And then I look at my other two sons, on an inflation adjusted basis and stuff like that. No, they're behind where I was at that age easily. Now they have some savings because I gave them some money to kind of set them up a little bit that they can use for the future. They're not, as a result, that gives them a little bit of a cushion. But they are, if you look at it just strictly saying, what are they making adjusted for inflation versus what I was making when I was their age, they're behind. But they're not suffering. at the same, they're making ends meet. They're saving a little bit of money. They're happy, and they're not complaining. So, if that's fine with me.
Mm-hmm. And also here's the thing. I find it funny how some people feel like. I mean, I was on a couple of calls last week about things getting back to normal, coming into the office. We had people that just say they threw their hands up. I don't want to come back into the office. I just want to work from home. And I'm thinking like, yeah, in work you actually have to make an effort to look like you're busy and doing work. While when you're at home, you just move your mouse around a couple times an hour, and hey, you're working really hard, because the little light is still green in Teams. But I mean, I'm not saying that all people are lazy that want to work at home. But I think here's my view. Okay, like I can speak to people that work for me. Over the last year, they've been just as or more productive working from home. So if, let's say, Bats wanted to work from home I'm fine with that. I like going.
What if I want to work from home for the rest of my time, Dwight?
That's up to Dirk. If Dirk says it's okay, you can work from home the rest of your life.
Hey, exactly.
But my view is this: look, if you can do your job. I know a lot of people say, because here's the flip side. I think when you go to the office, it's more than just work. You're kind of like, like I love it when I love it when I like all of my government contracts, but I love it when I have to go to Goddard because it's a lot of fun. I get to see rockets in the background. I get to see space guns, and every now and then now we can talk about them, the space aliens, that are in the basement and so on. But we get to see all this stuff. And Goddard is a beautiful campus. I don't know if any of you guys have been there. If you haven't, just when things open up, you guys should do a tour. We've got the world's largest clean room. I'd be happy to give you the nickel tour too, actually, of Goddard. But they've got a great gift shop. They got a lot of fun stuff you can do. And it's just, these are the best and the brightest of all government employees. I know that kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but no, these guys at NASA.
Yeah, that was kind of dangerous.
These guys at NASA are really brilliant. These are brilliant people at NASA. Even I hate to say this, Bill Nelson's not a bad director of NASA. He's not one of us, but he's not as bad as I thought he'd be.
Yeah, look, the work from home versus going into the office or even the hybrid. These are decisions that are going to be made by these companies, by the governments in terms of how they want to do things. They will take the pulse of their employees to a certain extent. There are pluses and minuses. Why I think you admit, you're more of an extrovert. So this is something that you enjoy doing. There are plenty of people who are introverts who are just fine.
Somebody's got to keep three brothers in operating business, by the way.
Pets, and not having to interact with others is fine. We have people that are going to have a long-term. They're still going to be afraid of catching the virus. We were talking earlier about going around without masks, but as I've experienced, and you probably have experienced this too, Dwight, maybe the rest of you too, is that even where mask mandates are not, where they're not required, most people are still wearing them indoors.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
I'm like the only unmasked person in there, and I'm like, come on, people, it's okay.
One of my favorite tech stores is Micro Center. I was there yesterday. This woman goes, "Where's your mask? Where's your mask?" I'm like, Dr. Fauci. I felt like saying Dr. Fauci says we don't have to wear a mask anymore because he is, their demigod they've created.
Part of it is what was the policy of the store?
No mask. You didn't have to wear a mask.
So so then you should have been able. I do admit I've been going to the gym for the last 10 days, or 9 days since they lifted the mask mandate in Montgomery County, and I'm grateful for it. And I still see about 30 to 40%, maybe 50%, depending upon the time of day, people still coming in wearing masks, and that's their they have the right to do that, to choose on that. But now, after having worn a mask for so long, it feels a little weird. I'm still a little bit like in the gym, like I feel like I should be having it, but I know I don't want to because on cardio, it's a pain in the rear end anyway.
Yeah.
So
is that kind of is that the same feeling? You accidentally skip a class in high school, like you forget to go to the class or something.
Well, look, I mean, I just saw this thing about Montgomery County rules for when kids go back to school in the fall, and one of the things in there, besides wearing masks indoors, is that even if you're outside for recess or PE, unless it's high heat, or humidity, you have to wear a mask. It's outdoors, people. Come on, give me a break.
I think what surprises me the most about so my background's kind of in public health and I guess health economics, but and I worked a lot with HIV. That was my big thing. When I first my master's, my doctorate, I was really interested in this area. And communication, the way we communicate, our knowledge of risk and how we communicate that and to change human behavior. It's always been a kind of a song and dance kind of thing where we always try to look at how much how we have to tailor our message because there's so much confusion. We can never really trust the fact that humans will interpret something as we think they would want to interpret it. And I think with this mask mandate and the vaccines, it's been it's like we haven't learned anything in the last 40, 50 years of how to communicate back or what is or the assessment of risk. You have to close down your stores, have lockdown your stores, but Walmart stays open. You have to close. I mean, there's certain things that there's the patchwork of how certain things are staying locked down. When do you wear a mask? When do you not wear a mask? When is it appropriately vaccinated? Is it appropriate to be vaccinated? I think all of that, that ambivalence, I think it just breeds a lot of distrust. I guess maybe distrust and hesitancy to embrace the reality of. And then if you are hesitant or you are distrustful of the system and you're somehow painted as a anti-vaxxer, non-believer, anti-science person, but you're not really that way. It's just, I think the ownership comes to them of policymakers and public health officials to really try to get their message clear, because I think they're leaving too much for interpretation for people. I think it's just a chaos.
Well,
yeah, I mean, look, we had. Go ahead, Dwight.
I would say it took us a while to get well, I'll be frank. I never got used to wearing a mask in public, frankly. But I would wear a mask because the business required it. When I go inside the Giant or Safeway, I'd put the mask on, or Costco's, I'd put the mask on. I might actually start wearing the mask to Costco's if that means they're not going to card me and they'll think I'm older than I am. That might be the only time I'd put on a mask. And once I get in, I'll take it off. But I think, it's going to take time for people to go back to that comfort level, and I tell you what doesn't help matters when they say, oh, we might bring back masking seasonally. So are we going to have mask mandates when we have the flu season next year to keep us all safe from the flu? They're going to force us
Don't give them any ideas, Dwight.
No, they've already talked about it. It's not a new idea. I heard this from the
argument against masking for the flu season. I mean, is that we have a flu vaccine every year.
But the COVID vaccine is more effective than the flu vaccine. Every time I get the flu vaccine, I get the flu.
Well, we hardly had any flu season at all this year, in a sense. The flu cases dropped right through the floor this past year.
Just because we weren't going out. We had a lockdown this winter. For the winter months, we had a lockdown. I mean, you could not dine in, or at least in many counties. I don't know if I think Anne Arundel County may have been the only county you can go out and eat inside of a restaurant during the winter season, right?
Yeah, I think we had a 2-week period where we were closed, and then it got overturned in court. But yeah, I mean I think the lockdowns were a direct. I mean, I think if you don't think they were effective for COVID, I mean, definitely were effective for the flu, but that wasn't really the problem at hand. And then I also think you kind of had some people buy in. I know I got my flu shot for the first time since I was a little kid this past year. So
did you get the flu?
No, I did not.
So it worked.
I didn't get the flu shot, and I didn't get the flu either.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had a flu shot, and I mean, I've had flu here and there, like 1 day flu or something like that, but not for anything long term. So it's it worked. It's just like the it's just like this whole COVID vaccine. I mean, we've reached a point now where we have 50% of the American public, has been vaccinated, and the percentages vary by state in terms of how many have been vaccinated in the states and the counties. But now we have a lot of people who are like, I'm not going to get the vaccine. I don't really, I just don't trust it and all this kind of thing. So, how much more progress we make with that, I don't know. But the number of cases of people that have gotten sick or a result of that has been extremely minimal. So for those that are afraid they think they're going to get sick, it's like, well, the evidence is really not supporting that right now, because it's been extremely effective. I mean, I had the J&J vaccine, which is supposed to be was the least effective of the vaccines that we had available to us. But it's nice to see life returning, a little bit more to normal as a result of all of this stuff.
One of the reasons we want to wear masks, Don, is because of our cicada problem we're having out there. I mean, the other day I went running, there were like 3 cicadas just on my shirt. I didn't realize till I got to like my second mile. I'm like, how long have you guys been hitching a ride with me? I had to brush them off. And
yeah, I mean, they're harmless. I mean, they just do that.
They're harmless, but they're like, do you remember we used to call them hitchhikers? When you go through the forest, you get these little green triangle things stuck to your clothes and stuff like that. We call them hitchhikers. I kind of view the cicadas as just hitching a ride, for the sake of hitching a ride.
They're here for a good time, not a long time, Dwight.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, they're here, and they won't be around for that much longer.
They're going to be gone in like 2 and 3 weeks. I mean, I think mid-June we'll start seeing them die
something
off.
like that. Yeah, it's something like that. And
my
home's 20 years old, and it doesn't have a lot of old growth trees and things like that. So we haven't seen a lot pop out of the ground or on the trees. Mm-hmm. We can sure hear them around the area because I'm surrounded in essence by parkland. So those are older trees and they've been around. But when I was growing up, my parents lived in an older home, and every 17 years or whatever, they were out, and they were out in force. I'm glad they're just not all over the place. I'm fine with that, but they do flitter about every once in a while. My first reaction always is to kind of duck, but I'm like, they're harmless. I have to remember, it's like, this is not like a bee or something, coming at me, but just kind of this natural reaction is like, I see when I'm like, I just start moving my head or whatever.
Mm-hmm. It's just a reflex thing.
They had the CNN reporter yesterday. I think he was actually reporting from inside the or something somewhere. He was doing an inside shot, and he had cicadas on his back. And he didn't know it. And when he realized it, he totally freaked out on live TV. So you never know. But, and then they were doing cicada cookouts, the chocolate covered cicadas, and the bakery.
The Washingtonian had an article about cicada tacos.
Yeah. Oh. Look, I don't know about you. I mean, I guess I would eat them as long as I don't know when I'm eating them.
Oh, there was a woman from Johns Hopkins talking about this. She goes, she likes to eat and she goes, we should be eating more bugs because it's better for the environment, and then she goes, I don't like the grown-up cicadas. I like the little baby cicadas as they're coming out of their shell when they're not black, and I'm like, so you like veal in essence, and actually she got a little irate when somebody made a comment about eating baby cicadas is equivalent to eating veal. And she was like, how veal is inhumane the way they kill the cattle and all that. But
I think
let's move on though and talk about this.
Yeah.
I know this subject has to be somewhat dear to your heart because it involves the China, which is the Wuhan virology lab. I mean, so here's a story about where the origins of COVID came from. And this goes all the way back to late 2019. President Trump, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Senator Tom Cotton, they have been talking about this. They've been talking about this as a possibility of where this came from. And, they were dismissed. They were ridiculed and everything like this. Now, all of a sudden, the media is saying, wait a minute, this is actually maybe a credible story because they found, They found that there were some people who worked in the lab that had gotten sick, back in November of 2019. It's like, well, maybe this was a resulting of this, because China wants to, their big thing is that if we're going to push a theory behind this, we want it to be the wet markets. We don't want it to be the lab, that we were doing something lab that created this. But now the media has shifted their stance in terms of where this is going. Of course, that means that President Trump and Cotton, these guys, they're never going to get credit if this is proved to be where it happened. These guys who are ridiculed and lambasted by the liberal media, by the progressive left, will never get credit for pointing this out. But now the media is saying, like, well, maybe this is something. And Biden is now saying what? What's the president saying? He wants a report in 90 days. I'm not sure where that's going exactly.
He thinks we'll forget about it.
Chinese, does he?
He thinks we'll forget about it, frankly, in 90 days. Because the short attention span.
Well, he'll forget about it in 90 days.
90 seconds.
10 days.
90 seconds, he'll forget about it. But here's my point is here. What do we do to China if it is exposed that China created this pandemic? My suggestion, we slap sanction after sanction and like a 500% tariff on anything made in China. We get our friends to come along and we cripple the Chi-Com economy and we bring them down economically, And I tell you, if we slap tariffs and we do worldwide sanctions like we did quite effectively against other bad people, like like our grain embargo against the Soviets. China has always been one natural disaster away from third world status again. If the Japanese earthquake tsunami went the other way and flooded the coastal cities of China would still be rearing from that and recovering from that. China is not they may think they're a world economic power, but they're a natural disaster away from going back to third world status again, frankly.
Well, let me ask Jason and Breacher. Let's take even a broader look at this. Not just what the U.S. would do, but if it is shown that China created this virus, they were responsible for this virus that has killed so many people, that has wrecked the economies of so many countries, and just all the things that's happened. How does the world react to this? Jason, Breacher?
There's always the palpable anger towards this. I think what worries me, I think we're almost in a post-fact society in the sense that there's people who will never believe that China had any fault in this. There's people that will still believe that China has complete fault. And I think the facts, the facts do weigh out, and that China was implicated in this. I think it would give maybe the politicians a little bit some kind of more basis for having sanctions or pushing harder. But I think it really is a very crazy idea to think that a country would actually do something like this. It wouldn't surprise me, but it's a very scary thought that something like this could ever happen.
The Soviets in the 70s were trying to weaponize several diseases. I'm trying to think of the one that I remember back from the days, and I read an article about this recently. They were trying to weaponize smallpox.
Yeah. I think it's I don't know. I guess the reaction from the society. Whatever the administration has to do, it has to be something strict. It has to be something very clear cut, almost Trumpian, God forbid. And the reaction, because I think the anger that people, as it starts building up further and further from folks, and the facts do weigh out in this area. It's going to be hard to redivert that. Just we'll wait for 90 days until people forget about it. No, I think it's going to be something that's going to get worse and worse and worse. I think more people are, and so I think the pressure will be on the administration to do something stern about this, because it can't just be a slap on the wrist. This was a very, very serious crisis for the whole world.
Yeah, Jason, let me ask you. In regard to that too, it's like, what do the Democrats do? If this is proven, the Democrats have been pretty cozy. They're cozier with China than the Republicans have been over time. All of a sudden, what do you do if the Democrats, the progressive left, and all these other people, if it's shown that the Chinese had basically either done this, whether or not it was an accident or whether or not it was intentional, what happens?
Right. I think what has to happen is if we figure out that China is ultimately at fault and that, this did come from a lab, and if it was intentional or not, I mean, I think we have to hold China accountable. I think most Democrats are not going to want to do that. I think you can see in the media, I don't know if you saw this, Tom, but there was a New York Times reporter that said that we still shouldn't mention the fact or the possibility that it could have come from a lab in China because it has racial undertones, negative racial undertones, as if saying that it came from a wet market is better. I don't quite understand that. So I think you're going to be hard pressed to find Democrats who are going to want to hold China accountable.
And which turns into a wonderful issue going to 2022. If this is proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, let me tell you, I mean, if we were going to win back the House by, say, 10 seats, I would say if all hell breaks loose, I think we could pick up 30 seats in 2022.
So we have David Bond has said, unfortunately we depend on China for things. One of the things that we kind of learned, or we saw at the early stages of the pandemic, was that because of the tariffs and all the things that that the Trump administration was doing with China, that manufacturers were trying to find other places they could put their goods into, whether or not it was Vietnam, Indonesia, and just a lot of other countries. And I wonder now too whether or not, now that things are kind of getting back a little bit more towards whatever that normal is, that some of those efforts are fading away. Are we going to go back to the reliance on China, or should we really look at this anyway as that keep up what we were doing and push manufacturing out of China, find other countries, so we are less reliant on China?
I think we need to bring back the policy of containment. We must contain China, the evil empire, frankly. Let's put some ICBMs in the ground pointed at Beijing. Let's let them know we mean business. Let's dust off General MacArthur's plan of the liberation of China from the communists, and let's defend our friends in Formosa, Taiwan. They are not a province of China. They are an independent country. Free China is Taiwan. I tell you, one of the mistakes, one of my favorite presidents, Richard Nixon, recognizing mainland China. Honestly, we could have kept them out of the UN. They'd still be, where would China be if President Nixon never recognized mainland China and we just kept supporting our friends in Taiwan, free China? And China would not be the threat they are today. So, I mean, we can kind of make the case to blame Richard Nixon for China growing out of control. I know President Nixon's plan was bringing China into the world community and making them more capitalistic, and they'd abandon their socialist commie ways, but it hasn't worked.
How do we know that Spiro Agnew was not responsible for that policy?
I was going to say, Dwight, what was Spiro Agnew's involvement in that decision?
I don't know, but I believe Spiro Agnew supported General MacArthur's grand plan of the liberation of mainland China by unleashing Chiang Kai-shek on the mainland and making the Korean Peninsula having a one Korea, opposed to two Koreas. I know, just listen to Spiro Agnew, we'd have one Korea and a democratic China. But
I think you bring up a good point. I think it opens up a good political opportunity for the United States to kind of chat. I mean, increasingly in the past few years, you see China doing basically excluding countries that are on the Security Council, not the current list, but other countries that are on the Security Council, who are supportive of Taiwan. I mean, they basically isolated Taiwan. I can remember a few years back, I worked with some Taiwanese researchers, and we were trying to submit a publication on using Taiwanese data to the Bulletin of the World Health Organization. And they refused to accept it because we could not refer to Taiwan as an independent country. And Taiwan was excluded from the World Health Assembly, was excluded from the WHO, was excluded from all UN agencies. This is the point where the United States could actually step up and say, no, since China is on the weaker spot of this global pandemic, and then defend itself, or if it wasn't at fault, this definitely is then I think it's our an opportunity to basically back up our Taiwanese assets and say it's Taiwan. We should have never looked the other way when the Taiwanese were reaching out to us, because I think in the past few years we've basically been very hesitant to try to piss off China to the point where we're like alienating our own ally.
And I mean, this all started under Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton basically is where this whole anti-Taiwan policy started. Bill Clinton and then Barack Obama. You know, Bill Clinton basically told the Chicoms, "Hey, we may not defend Taiwan, even though we have a treaty with Taiwan." And then you had Barack Hussein Obama do the same thing, you know. And then remember all the outrage when President-elect Trump in 2016 took a call from the president of Taiwan, and all the outrage. You know, the Chicoms were all miffed about that. You know, he took a call from a government that the freely democratically elected government of the real China. The president called to congratulate Donald J. Trump, you know, on his win, and the Chicoms couldn't even handle that.
I can remember like just a few years ago, so quite a while ago actually. The last time the cicadas were here,
2004.
It was 2004. There was an instructor of mine that used to work in the State Department that he used to, and he would comment about like the policy of the State Department with regarding Taiwan was kick the can down the road. This is the Bush administration, and it almost seemed like that was the strategy. It was the idea that like we won't wake up the sleeping giant with China, but we'll just kick the can down the road because, you know, they're always going to have that's an inevitable problem between China and Taiwan. Rather than address it right now, we're just going to address it later. And that was not leadership. And they should have. I mean, like again, you just emboldened like China for where it was at then, and now it's more emboldened now to be at the position now where they're basically dictating to other countries, smaller countries, who can sit on the Security Council, who cannot sit on the Security Council, who's going to be invited to the World Health Assembly, to UN conferences or whatever it is. It's very interesting to see how almost like geopolitically arrogant a country can be. I mean, the U.S. they would say the same thing. The U.S. has been doing that for years, but in some ways, I think
we're the good guys.
Was that?
We're the good guys, though. We don't oppress people. We basically, you know, offer them a helping hand.
We have a sense of democracy that kind of does work here. I mean, if there's a change in government, you don't have that there. You have a party apparatus that basically kind of coordinates the next guy.
And that's because Harry Truman didn't have the backbone to go after the Chicoms back during the Korean War. He fired General MacArthur because General MacArthur had the audacity to think big and talk about liberation of China.
Yeah.
You know, and it goes back to Harry Truman. I think he's a hero of the left right now, or he might be too right wing for them.
All right, look, we got a few minutes to go here, but let's try to dig in one more quick subject maybe, which is the 1-6 commission that the Senate Republicans look like they have blocked successfly.
Amen.
Yeah, and look, you know, I was thinking the other day about this because, you know, we haven't had Garrett on in a while, but isn't one of his heroes Mitch McConnell?
Yes. I believe so.
Right, you know, and I have to say, look, I know a lot of conservatives, and you probably do too, Republicans that pillory McConnell a lot. But I'm going to give Mitch McConnell what as the leader a tremendous amount of credit for things that he has managed to do over the years. You may not agree with everything that but overall he has been very successful in navigating the Republican position overall, and he held this together. I mean, we knew kind of Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and Mitt Romney were not going to stick with the Republicans on this. And they lost a couple others, but they blocked this thing. Democrats are all up in arms. I admitted that I fell into the trap initially of even every once in a while mentioning this whole 1-6 as a insurrection, which I refused to do. But once I woke up and realized this is a liberal media left-wing narrative that they want to get across because that's all they say. And the thing to this morning was at the gym, and I'm watching the NBC in the morning. They're talking about the 1-6 thing before the vote took place today, and they said that the Republicans are trying to stop this despite the overwhelming support of the Republicans in the House. It's like overwhelming support, 35 Republicans out of 202 or whatever. Where is that? How is that overwhelming support? This liberal media, this left wing people, this is driving me crazy.
Let me tell you, this is kind of like Don. I think you're old enough to remember this. The Challenger Commission, if you recall, it was all about trying to pin blame on the Reagan administration's NASA. The left loves to. I mean, 9/11, the 9/11 Commission. Let's all see how we can hang this around President Bush. Never mind, it was Bill Clinton's fault that 9/11 happened the way. And I'll even go as far as it goes all the way back to the Democrats criminalizing assassinations that the CIA was quite effective at in the 1960s and 70s. Assassinating foreign leaders. I mean, I didn't think it was a bad policy. It was good for America.
I mean, wasn't this so-called impeachment trial, the second impeachment trial, wasn't that a discovery of facts that happened in this matter? I mean, that was they were trying to build a case, and they went on this little charade for like 2 weeks to just talk about the evidence and all the buildup for showing their videos of what happened. What would this commission actually achieve? And I think for me, it just, the way I interpret it is like, it's the Democrats trying to revive the Great White Whale. They know Trump is not on the ballot. They can't say in 2018, like what they did in 2018, launch ban bad. They have to find some way of resurrecting that Great White Whale so they can get their base to come out to vote against Republicans. Because the base is not energized. They're not energized as they were in 2018. And if they continue flashing these images of the guy with the bison horns, they can somehow scare the
Mighty Mightor.
What's that?
Mighty Mightor. He was a cartoon character. He fought crime in prehistoric times, and he had his helmet, was horns, and he had a club and a dragon that he flew around with.
They might flash images of that guy.
I heard him read that.
I think the idea that they're trying to resurrect a story, they're trying to basically sell a story. I think I'm glad that somebody had to be an adult in Washington, and basically the Republicans stuck together finally, and basically said no, enough's enough. I mean, we've heard enough about this issue, but again, it's largely done from a party. It's being perpetuated by a party that is basically devoid of ideas, and they're just trying to rehash this story as much as they possibly can, with hopes they can try to scare more people.
This is our guy, right?
He's white. But to your point here, though, the thing is that one of the things I felt pretty strongly about was that the trials of Trump were going to hurt the Democrats. And then COVID came along, and a lot of other things took place, but the Democrats were doing themselves a lot of damage, by going through this impeachment process, especially the second one, for real no purpose except to go after Donald Trump. They were trying to take him down, but I think that was going to horrendously backfire on them. And I think even with the 2020 result, even though Trump didn't win, I think there is some residual effect on the fact that we won back so many seats in the House, that this probably still had maybe a little bit of effect there. In some ways, if they did go through with this commission, if this thing had managed to somehow get created and go forward, I think this would have done a lot of damage to the Democrats for 2022 and beyond, because as you were saying, it's like, what is this commission going to achieve? What was the purpose? What were they really going to find? American people would wait, they'd look at this and say, this is a waste of time and money. And I don't really think most people at this point in time are really concerned about, what happened on 1/6 anymore. It's been almost 5 months. They keep trying to say it's an insurrection. They have people, I guess, there've been reports where some of the people that they had arrested are in solitary confinement. It's like, well, that's extreme. I mean, did they do anything so bad that they're put in solitary confinement? I mean, that seems to be more criminal than anything else at this stage. So there are a lot of problems here for the Democrats if they go forward with this. But I do think they can get in this tunnel vision. We've got to go after Trump. We've got to go after Republicans, and they don't really think about the after effect of what it might do to them.
And here's the thing: nobody seems to, here's the thing. Jerry Ford, the accidental president, after Richard Nixon, was run out of town by the communists in Congress and at the Washington Post, right? Bob Woodward, Carl Bernstein, I'm talking about you guys, the communists. And the same communist agents at the Washington Post now work for Beijing. But my point is, President Ford, in his first address post Nixon's resignation, President Nixon's resignation, made a point that we need to move forward and put this in the past. We're not going to relitigate, And Nancy Pelosi had the opportunity to have that Jerry Ford moment. She could have been Jerry Ford if she would have just come out and said, look, the election's over. Let's move forward. Let's move on. We can't keep beating this dead horse here. But Nancy Pelosi is not a magnanimous person. She is not an intellectual. She is a moron, and she likes to overreach. So she decides, we're going to keep this going. We're going to keep beating this drum, and we're going to win election after election, because every time a Republican runs, we're going to bring up the boogeyman, President Donald J. Trump. And that is, they overplayed their hand here. And quite frankly, I think I have a feeling that a combination of things that are happening right now. You've got China is a problem for his fraudulency, Joe Biden. The other problem you have for Joe Biden is people refusing to go back to work. You have unemployment going up. Other problem is he wants to raise taxes. I mean, he wants to raise corporate income taxes. What does he think is going to happen to the economy when he does that? 2022. We're doing something wrong if we don't take the House back. And the Senate's a different story. There's a lot of pieces on the board there, but there's an outside chance we could even take the Senate back. I mean, these guys are just really overreaching, Nobody thought in 1994 we would take the House. The predictions, everyone, they'll take the Senate, but they're not going to take the House. But we took both, and we took them with big numbers. We won back the House with larger numbers than the Democrats did in 2006 when they came back into power. Well, my point here is that let the Democrats keep overreaching. Let them overplay their hand. This is, we beat them on this. They're going to bring this up again. The 1-6 commission isn't dead yet. I wouldn't put it past Nancy Pelosi to just create a House committee to investigate this without Senate, oversight, and just do it and then put out some report, kind of like the way the old Soviet Union used to put out reports.
Yeah, I mean, Dwight, you're right. I think you're right about that. That's easily something that could happen since they control. But I do think that there are some rank and file Democrats that are not in agreement with their party leaders about this. Very nervous about the 2022 election and what stuff like this can do. But we're well into final thought territory, Dwight. So lead the way.
I got an M&M in my mouth. Yeah, I got an M&M in my mouth right now. Final thoughts, everyone. Let's start with Breacher, because I know you have to probably you've got a lot of stuff. Is politics this crazy on Earth too? Also, where you come from?
In the greatest county in the world, wonderful Howard County, where cicadas and liberals run rampant here. I think it's been I guess the final comments in terms of the week wrap up for me. One topic we didn't get to, I think, is the vaccine. What do you call this, lottery kind of?
Mm-hmm.
I find it kind of perplexing and funny at the same time. But it sounded like, I guess my frustration with this vaccine lottery for me is just, it's like the idea that like refusal and hesitancy are not even valued anymore. Like the fact that like the idea that people, like, again, I go back to this mixed messaging that was happening back and forth with the lockdowns, back and forth with the mask mandate, back and forth with the vaccines. Who got the vaccine? Who was allowed to keep their store open? Who was told to wear a mask? Who was not told to wear a mask? This fluctuation back and forth sent so many mixed messages to people that there was a lot of hesitancy about what fact is. And so now that they can't get 100% of people getting vaccinated, so they say, well, let's do a lottery, right? Because surely it's just because they're broke and they're poor that will really get them to sign on board. a lot of the evidence does actually show that. I mean, this is not. I mean, they might get people. I mean, they're probably the people that are going to be calling for this lottery system are people who are already going to get vaccinated anyways. It's not. I don't think it's incentivizing any future people. I think the people who are hesitant and reluctant to get it, I think they have justifiable reasons why they should hurt out. And I think, and moreover, I think the other thing that happened this past week, there was a rally in Annapolis on Wednesday on the mandate for the University System of Maryland on folks to have staff, faculty, and students to be vaccinated. I think it was a very heavy-handed declaration on April 23rd for the University System of Maryland to basically require everybody now to be vaccinated. I think it's pulling a lot of people away in the sense of like dissent against this. It makes you anti-science. It makes you a rogue. And so now like. I think this vaccine lottery for me is just now we're painted out to be these like kind of broken people who are sitting at the bus stations with a lottery ticket in hand, just hoping that we're going to hit that $1 million Powerball. It was just
$40,000, not even anywhere near $1 million, isn't it? I thought the
lottery. But it seems so insulting. It's so insulting to the idea that like we could actually have justifiable reasons why we don't want to get vaccinated. So,
yeah, I mean, plus what happens if another something like this happens again? I mean, is this what we're going to be trained to expect, that that we're going to get a monetary reward or the possibility of one just to get vaccinated? I mean, people have the choice to make: get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated.
I think the best incentive to get people to get the vaccination, give everyone an iPhone 12 Pro Max.
$15 minimum wage, McDonald's.
No, forget the $15 minimum wage. Just give away an iPhone, 12 Max Pro, and you got to take the vaccine, and you get it when you get the second vaccine, the second shot. You don't get it after the first, because some people I got my first shot, I don't need to get the second one.
But would that incentivize Ryan? I thought Ryan. Android guy, so
he's got an iPhone.
Ryan's an iPhone guy now.
He's also a SharePoint guy.
He left the dark side.
And not only that, he's also a SharePoint guy too. Now he likes Microsoft SharePoint. He's come over to the light side of the force.
How much did you have to pay to do that?
Nothing at all. Wisdom. Robot Ryan is a smart guy. So yeah, my one last thing with the vaccine lottery is like, really, I mean, I kind of agree with the breacher there. It's kind of so cheap, and it's like you're saying that you're now targeting people that are betting their lot. These are the same. I hate to say it, these are the same people that buy, like when the jackpot gets to like $6 million or whatever, that buy like $100 worth of lottery tickets. Never mind, $100 can buy them 2 weeks worth of groceries, I think. I could be out of touch. It could be just a week's worth of groceries, But
Dwight, I want one thing. I'll be very curious when the lottery in Maryland on July 4th, that if they look back and say how many of these people won, the $40,000 daily prize or the $400,000 one on July 4th, how many of them had been vaccinated? When did they get their vaccines? Was that since the lottery started, or was that, or are all the winners going to wind up being pre-lottery?
That would be funny.
I think they should also give a tax break for people who are veterans who are vaccinated through the VA system, who are not eligible because the federal government's not sharing their data with the state government, and they're not eligible for this lottery. So it's just being paid by their tax dollars. So I think they should get a tax break. Anybody who is a veteran who got vaccinated through the VA system should get a tax break for what they for a lottery system that was set up in their name, but they could never access that money.
But far be it from me from being like a tax hawk, so to speak. But what's wrong with, why don't we just stop taxing veterans? Let's just stop taxing veterans and senior citizens. Let's just stop taxing them. What's wrong with that?
It's Maryland.
I'll be a senior citizen in a few years. I'm all for don't tax me.
No, seriously, I don't see. Okay, I think how everything has an expiration. Your driver's license, you have to renew every 7 years, something like that. Why can we not sunset taxes? Why can't we say, Don, you're a seasoned citizen now. I don't want to see a tax penny from you. You're not going to pay any more property taxes. We'll give you a little card when you go to the grocery store, no sales tax. What is wrong with that? We do the same thing for veterans. No property tax, no sales tax. No tax means no tax. You know, I bet you'll get you see a boost in enlistees to the military, the National Guard, probably, if you did that too. Just saying. I mean, it's not a bit. Does anybody think it's an unsound policy to give senior citizens or
Right. I mean, they can do it. I mean, it's proposed every year down in Annapolis. It's usually just the folks who represent
Democrats.
you and Don in the General Assembly don't really get on board.
Because they've never served a day. They have a disdain for the military because we don't need.
In the senior citizen category.
Watch the DC people.
We don't have, I think the fact that we don't have a real military base in Montgomery County, that could be part of the problem. Then again, these people think NIH is a base. Okay, so. Because I went there once, they go, welcome back to base. I'm like, this is not a base. You know, what are the tanks if this is a base? It's, you know.
Best of a tank.
You know, or a jet, or a bazooka, like an attack vehicle or a howitzer or something.
At least give me a helicopter.
There you go. Yes, thank you. Yeah. So, final thoughts, Jason.
Well, my final thought was going to be the vaccine lottery too, and I'll just say I'll say it's a good idea so long as I win at least the $40,000. If I win the money, it's a great idea. If not, then why did we even do it?
You're cheapening out. You said you should say, well, as long as I win the $400,000.
Well, I'll take any amount of money. I mean, if I get a call, if I get that call now, did the lottery incentivize me? No, I got the vaccine before the lottery was even thought of. But
are you going to sign that check over to the Maryland Republican Party?
No, I'll send it over to friends of Jason Trott.
Yeah. There you
go.
Real quick.
The other final thought I have is
tax-free.
That's
tax-free lottery
also
winning,
true.
Right? Why not?
Yeah.
Sure. Why do we even have taxes?
I agree.
And the only other thing I wanted to touch on is June 11th, which is coming up real closely. We have our state Republican convention, but that night I will be. Let's see if we can do this. I will be there at our spring reception with Governor Bob Ehrlich. He's going to be signing his book. Tickets are $85. It might seem a little steep. It might seem a little cheap. I don't know. It depends on what kind of income bracket you're in. But
you'll think the party's
so low that you'll go nuts at Maryland Live. I mean, they have a really nice venue. Your drinks and food will be paid for. The food is good. You'll get to mingle with people like Dwight. So I mean, why I don't.
All the doctors will be there too in person. We'll be signing autographs too.
Yeah, sure. Dwight will make some prints of all the doctors, and then each one of us will sign our little picture on his little print.
I think that's not a bad idea. Yeah. And by the way, Jason, the prices, you mean to tell me you're going to get drinks and food and possibly a picture with the doctors for $85?
Yeah, absolutely.
See,
have you guys gone insane?
$85 is too much.
Have you guys gone insane on West Street? It's like so low. It's crazy. I mean, are we just giving away these tickets, you know?
Hey, we got to get bodies in the door.
Yeah, and by the way, what are we going to do if some knucklehead decides, I'll just sign up at the door for the convention?
For the convention, I'll tell you that we're real focused on election integrity here, and I haven't had the proper amount of time to vet you, and therefore you can't come into the convention. Now, if you want to show up Friday night at 7:00 and say, I would like to go to the reception, I'd say,
absolutely,
please give me a check and you can go right in.
Yeah, there's going to be a few celebrities there Friday night too, in addition to the doctors, right?
Exactly.
Well, Dwight, you better if you're going to do that, are you going to have doctor polos or something out there so they can
I think we should. Send me your sizes, and let's do that. Do you want to do black or red?
I'm sure David Bond would love to get your business.
Yeah, I could have Dave do half, have Al do the other half. You know. So just let me know if we want to do one color or we want to get different colors. I think the black. I think our logo looks really sweet on black.
Yeah, I think black. I think it looks smooth on black.
Yeah, and you see we got the pulse. I like our new logo. It looks really good. And we'll also have these signs to give away too.
You're big on that, yeah.
I like it, and I think it is great, and everyone should come down. And also, you get to meet Governor Bob Ehrlich, and basically, you can, if you've got a copy of his older books, I'm sure he'd love to sign it for you.
And I'm sure he'll have some there if you don't have one. I'm sure he'll have some on hand for you to get.
Yeah. And Bob Ehrlich gave us the ICC, the Bob Ehrlich Expressway. Montgomery County, we love Governor Bob, we love our govs, we love Governor Bob. We love Governor Hogan, but we love Governor Bob a little bit more because he actually gave us some transportation solutions. But we love you too, Governor Hogan, and so don't take it the wrong way, But we love our governors.
I'm sure he's watching.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, Friday night. What else is going on? Dukes of Hazzard is not on Friday night.
Hanging out with Kid Rock.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, he's in Tennessee, isn't he, right now? But any more final thoughts, Jason?
Nope.
By the way, tell us, how was your garden party? You haven't been on since you had your garden party. It took him 2 weeks to recover from it.
It's true. We raised over $10,000. It was a packed house. Jessica Hare, hopefully our future county executive, spoke.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had every member of the General Assembly speak. Most of our county council members spoke. Our sheriff spoke. It was a really good time. I think a lot of people had fun. A lot of people were excited to get out.
Did your Board of Education people show up as well?
Yeah, both did.
No, good.
Yeah, so it was a great turnout. We raised a lot of money. I'm sure we're doing better than the Anne Arundel County Democrats right now, money wise. So yeah, I think it was excellent.
Awesome job. And I think that's a great encouragement for the other counties like Howard County, Prince George's County. Do an event. People are clamoring to go somewhere and charge you a little bit of money for it. You'll make a lot of money doing that too. I could not attend, but I did buy a ticket to your event. It was a wonderful event, and I think it was put to really good use. So that is great news on that front.
I can say, if I can plug in. So we've been trying.
Yeah, how was your happy hour last night? You did that.
Oh, it was pretty good. It was actually, we had 50, 60 people that usually show up. There's a lot of people. So that's one thing that we've been in Howard. We've been trying to. Well, the Democrats have basically been sleeping and having Zoom sessions. We decided to have in-person events where we can get people to network a little bit more. And they've gone from like 60 to 70 to 80 up to 100 folks that we've had at every monthly event that we've had. And we have one on the 22nd of June. COVID-19 lockdowns and critical race theory in public schools. So it's always a controversial issue that's probably statewide, but I think in Howard County it's been, we have the kind of the woke warriors here that are trying to push certain things in our schools here. So definitely expecting a pretty big crowd.
You said that's June 19th?
That's on June 22nd. It's a Tuesday in
Okay.
Ellicott City.
June 19th is Candidate Palooza, right, Jason?
It is.
When all the people that want to run for office, want to learn anything about running for office, opposed to being lectured at about the uniqueness of a certain county, we actually teach nuts and bolts about how to actually get out of the gate and run. And you guys do
that one is a Zoom meeting, but don't fall asleep on it.
Yeah, we might actually. Yeah, we're so far. I'm thinking. We'll talk offline, but I've got an idea. I want to run that by you. But final thoughts? Anything else, Jason?
Nope.
Don, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Things. One, former Congressman Joe Walsh is loudly complaining, whining about his radio show being canceled, saying it's because the boss of the radio network is a big Trumper, and he's a conservative anti-Trumper, so he got fired. I don't know. I mean, Joe Walsh, one-term congressman from Illinois, been trying to keep himself going with other things. Has been a big anti-Trump guy. Tried to run against Trump, and failed miserably. So I don't know. The guy. He was a loudmouth in Congress. He was kind of interesting at the time, but I think to me he's just become a big loser ever since he left Congress. And then the other thing was just that Kellogg's announcing that how woke they are with their woke cereal. What do we call it here? The Together We're Pride, to help support the LGBTQ community. I'm sorry. It's like, look, I've been eating cold cereal almost every day of my life for over 50 years.
What's your favorite cereal?
It's any kind of politics with my cereal.
Yeah.
For crying out loud, can you just do it somewhere else? I mean, this is, I'm like, my grandkids and everything like this. This is the world that they are facing, is just this crazy wokeness in all aspects of their lives. But come on, leave it off the breakfast table, please.
So what's your favorite cereal, Captain Crunch or Cookie Crisps?
No, actually, I've gotten very used to eating frosted mini wheats.
Nice.
But,
yeah, I know it's Cheerios.
I'm eating a lot of. I'm still going through my Cheerios pumpkin spice inventory. I haven't quite.
Pumpkin spice. Yet. There it is again.
Pumpkin spice. You can throw out your hatred about pumpkin spice and Shamrock Shakes again.
By the way, guys, I found out what Joe's been doing since his radio show's been canceled. Hold on, let me share this with you. It's a lot of fun. Life's been good to him.
No. It's the other Joe Walsh. All right, enough of that.
That was very funny, Dwight.
Yes.
That's a great song. That may show up in our second video that we're doing, by the way. But my final thoughts are a couple of things. One, the Maryland Republican Party convention is coming up, the 11th and 12th. Do come out if you're a member of the Central Committee, or if you want to just come on down and kick some tires and see that we don't have horns on our heads and see Republicans up close in person. Kind of like you could treat it like you're going to the zoo. You could see us Republicans up close, and we're good people. We're just like you guys. We, come out, kick the tires, and you'll find out you might like us, and you probably agree with us more than you think you do. But Friday night, all Republicans, come on out, share your support, love for Governor Ehrlich. Governor Ehrlich, one of our finest governors in my lifetime in the great state of Maryland, along with our current, and Governor Ehrlich was, has this, he was one of the first gubernatorial campaigns, the winning campaign in Maryland. I actually did a little bit, not a lot, but I did a little bit with in 2002 when he was running for governor. And that was an exciting night when he got elected. And next year we celebrate 20 years of Governor Ehrlich. But come on out, show the support. Governor Ehrlich's this book is great. His last book is great. This is a great bookend. This is the quintessential book on the Trump presidency, I think, in my opinion. Pre-order it at Amazon.com. Subscribe to Governor Ehrlich's podcast. And one last thing. I understand there's a cabal of people that are these are Republicans that are shilling for Michael Steele. Is Michael Steele still a Republican? I thought he became a Democrat. And that's my final thought. Michael Steele's the Democrat.
We're a Big Ted party, huh?
Yes, we are.
Well, you can't let the whole Michael Steele thing.
And my issue with Michael Steele is this. These are the same people that threw Oreo cookies at him. The PG County NAACP threw Oreo cookies at him. They put out flyers with him in blackface. We defended Michael Steele, and I just feel, betrayed by Michael Steele. Frankly, it all started after he was no longer the RNC chair. He alluded to racism is why he lost. Never mind the mismanagement of the 2012 convention. I mean, if it weren't for Reince Priebus, and I don't think we would have been ready for that convention, because the most incompetent people on the planet were running that before Reince Priebus got involved with that Tampa convention. And that's my final thoughts. And welcome. Good night, everyone. We'll see you all next week. And we might have a very special Dr. Politics show, later show on Friday, June 11th. We might have to do it after the reception. But
that'll be a fun show.
Yeah, I think we'll all be liquored up,
With all the occasions, since I don't drink, I'm.
Yeah, I'll be fine too. But so thank you, everyone, and see you guys also next week. Very special programming note: our sister show, Direct Line. Our special guest is Ambassador James Gilmore and Ambassador Ellen Sauerbrey. They will be talking about all things Middle East, Israel. A mess that Joe Biden has created in the Middle East. Another one of little gifts from Joe. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Good night.